see and listen to, remember and accept. How to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teaching. Could you mute yourself?
Yeah, sure. Sorry about that. So I'll introduce. Can I read your bio
And read the Donna statement.
and the Donna statement too? Savana Amata Yasa is the spiritual director of Anattasati Magga and the director of Center for End of Life Transitions and Carolina Memorial Sanctuary, North Carolina's first conservation burial ground. Both are all faith projects of Anattasati Magga. Savana Amata Yasa began her Buddhist practice in 1990 under the guidance of her teacher Nancy Spence. Has made death care her life work. In 1995, Caroline began working towards a greater understanding of the death and dying process when she discovered her own fears around the transition and journey each of us will take. Since that time, as a death care midwife and doula for the dying, Caroline has offered education and assistance through the Center for End of Life Transitions. In 1999, Caroline was introduced to the concept of green burial by the founders of the conservation burial movement, Billy and Kimberly Campbell. That meeting sparked the dream of offering this type of burial in the Asheville area. Many years and many conversations later, Carolina Memorial Sanctuary became a reality when Anattasati Magga purchased our land in December of 2015. Aside from death care assistance, Caroline does have other interests. Her Buddhist spiritual practice, Metta and boysenberry, her furry family, using her hands to create art, and baking. When asked why she has chosen to follow this path, it's not often that a person has the opportunity to create a community sanctuary which allows the meeting of open hearts. There is nothing else I'd rather do. Death will touch each of us. No one will be left out. It is a gift and honor to be part of this transition.
And to mention also that Savana has a passion for sewing, and especially sewing robes. And so she's the sewing teacher for Great Tree right now. And we'll be leading the sewing retreat for making Buddha robes.
Yeah, that's the title of the talk also.
Yeah, that's what this talk is about too. So now she's going to read the Donna statement. And Savana, maybe you can put in the chat where you would like to have Donna sent for this morning. Anybody that wants to.
Donna can go to Great Tree.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So maybe you don't have to read it. Everybody's heard it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I think I have it.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
I think everybody
Sorry.
here has heard it anyway. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm no longer the spiritual director of Anattasati Magga. I was the interim director while Sujata Yasa was ill, and she's back in charge now. Thank goodness. So it's nice to be relieved of that duty. That's not my calling. So, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity again to be here with you. Tejo asked me to speak about making a Buddha robe and sewing as a spiritual practice. I'm happy to offer you my experience and perspective, and I am by no means an expert on any of it. So I imagine that most of you have experienced a variety of ways to engage in a spiritual practice. Informal sitting meditation, we use our body and mind to sit with no deliberate thought in serene reflection meditation. We settle ourselves onto our cushion, our bench or chair, or perhaps we're lying down. We might utilize the awareness of our breath to help us to settle. And then we just rest in the posture, allowing thoughts to come and go, come and go. And there's often a gap or gaps of awareness where there is no self and other. We experience the Buddha's teaching and direction. During Dharma talks, we expand our awareness using our sense of hearing, our sense of seeing or reading, and our minds to understand the Buddha's teachings. We experience the Dharma. It becomes alive in us. It goes beyond concept to a way of being. We become more clear and calm. At Great Tree, you will have participated in formal meals with oryoki. That format and ceremony is another opportunity for spiritual practice. Because we practice and learn how to flow with each other during the ceremony of this mealtime practice, we begin to settle, allowing thoughts to come and go. And there is again a gap of awareness where there is no self and other, expanding into community, into Sangha. And we see how we are connected and interdependent. All of these are ways of having a spiritual practice. We could also add cleaning meditation, gardening meditation, painting, pottery, beekeeping, writing, cleaning toilets, and sewing as a way of spiritual practice. There are no limits to the ways in which we might engage in our own activities daily as a spiritual practice. Tomo Katagiri's gift of the Nohoi, the written directions for sewing the Okesa and Rakusu, is the precious Dharma passed down from the Buddha's request and Ananda's vision to our present day. Through Tomoe-san's generosity, her mindfulness, awareness, and spiritual practice, and verbal lineage, the verbal lineage was put into writing for our present benefit. Mingyur Rinpoche, a Tibetan Lama, teaches that awareness is meditation. When our sense organ meets the sense object, pure sense consciousness arises. And then there's a gap, a place of awareness, of meditation, where there is pure seeing, pure hearing, pure touch, pure smell, and so on. As soon as we turn our attention to what has arisen, like when an emotion or a thought arises, our awareness to that thought or emotion, we are again in meditation. There are likely more times each day when you are aware and meditating than you might realize. Sewing the Buddha's robe, the Okesa and the Rakusu, uses most of our senses. We have the physical form of the manual, which we see and read. When reading the book, one has to be still and quiet to grasp the concept and instruction presented. We have the object of the fabric and supplies we utilize to construct the Buddha robe. We engage our hearing to receive instruction from someone who has gone before, remembering the teaching and sharing it with others. We use our minds to grasp the understanding of how one measurement from our body and a measurement from the Buddha's body can come together through causes and conditions to manifest in the Buddha's robe. Even our sense of smell comes into play when we are using the steam iron to press the seams of the garment. Often, a lot of emotions may arise. The deep gratitude for the lineage of precious beings who tirelessly hand down the Dharma from teacher to student. Fear may arise, thinking that I might not be able to do this. Anger and frustration might arise when ripping out stitches you've made, or in comparing yourself to someone beside you. Joy arises in looking around at Sangha sewing together in the manifestation of Buddha's robe. All of this is part of sewing as a spiritual practice. We do this silently in formal meditation. We watch thoughts, emotions, body sensations as they come and go. They are not permanent. We do the same when sewing the Buddha's robe, the okesa and the rakusu. Many years ago, I was doing some admin for Great Tree, and I saw sewing retreat on the schedule. I didn't know what a rakusu was. I had not been introduced to a rakusu in our Sangha, Anattasati Magga. For me, the love of sewing and creating with my hands first motivated me to want to sign up for a sewing retreat. Tomoe-san and Teijo taught that retreat. It was completely foreign. The Japanese terms, the garment I'd never seen, the stitch, kyakushi, the way of pinning the pieces together, it was all new. I remember Tomoe-san not being happy with the way I was pinning pieces together, and our language differences weren't helping me to understand how to shift my seeing, how to do it a different way. I finally dropped attachment to my way and was able to see and hear what she was offering, and I got it. I understood how having an attachment to the way I had done it before was keeping me stuck, was keeping me from seeing. Also at that retreat, 2 of Teijo's students were sewing the okesa. The knowing appeared that I will be sewing the okesa. I have seen it before. I have sewn it before. During my karmic stream, perhaps in a previous life, I was like the prostitute who in jest wrapped the okesa around herself, clearing the path towards Buddhahood. Sometimes this knowing that arises is part of my spiritual practice. It may not be anything I know what to do with, and perhaps you've had the same experiences. We just set it aside, put it on the back burner, and allow the path to unfold. Sewing an okesa, I think, is a big deal. It takes commitment and utilizes all of the paramitas: generosity, morality, patience, sympathetic joy, meditation, and wisdom. And we include loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and equally important, a sense of humor. And hopefully there's support from Sangha. As I said, we take 2 measurements. One measurement from the length of the tip of the middle finger to the elbow on our body. This measurement is taken for the person who will be wearing the okesa. This is when we're sewing an okesa. The second measurement is the measurement of the width of either 1 or 2 of the Buddha's fingers. We take these numbers and do a series of mental gymnastics, a lot of scratching heads. We don't know what the heck we're doing. This can't be right, must not be right. And then trust that this is it. And we check in with each other over and over again, measuring 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. These are the measurements we are calculating for all the pieces that will be cut out of a single piece of fabric for an okesa. This piece of fabric, in order to adhere to the 3 requirements, ideally would not be a new piece of fabric. The 3 requirements are, let me see if I can remember them, that the color of the fabric is not one to cause covetousness. It should be discarded fabric. And the third one is the muted color. I think that's it. The goal is to produce an okesa that no one else would covet. Ideally, the fabric would be waste material In the Buddhist time, it would be from a shroud found along the side of the road that would have been used on a corpse. This fabric would be washed and dyed with plants to produce a nondescript color, again, that no one would covet. This fabric would then be cut according to the size requirements that I described before. Several years ago, Genjo and I were sewing on his okesa, and I had purchased black fabric and ceremonially dyed it with beetroot juice before we cut it out. All of this was done with mindfulness of adhering to the guidelines and with gratitude to Teijo, to Moya-san, and to Genjo for asking me to help. Before we began, I circled the fabric over incense 3 times, reciting the homages, to open the eye of the fabric in preparation for transformation to a Buddha robe. And then we began, baby steps all the way, just like the development of our own spiritual practice. Each stitch reciting a mantra: I take refuge in the Buddha, or I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. This invitation to the Buddha and the 3 jewels felt like an invitation to the long line of ancestors to come and bless this practice. And they came. Every time we picked up that fabric, they were there, encouraging me to snip that piece of fabric when I wasn't paying attention, following up with weeks later with, ruh-roh, shouldn't have cut that. And I certainly was somewhere else when I did it. A sense of humor, as I said, is helpful. And we begin again, wherever we are. That piece of fabric is missing, so we add a new piece of fabric. It's that simple. It's not personal. As we met each week to sew together, we would begin as other services and ceremonies began, with bowing and prostrations to the Buddha, the ringing of the bell, the intonation and recitation of the Okesa Sutra, and bowing to each other before we took our place to proceed where we left off. The Okesa Sutra now, for me, has new meaning. I am beginning to understand the poetry, beauty, and power of the 10 precious virtues intrinsic to the garment of the Dharma, Okesa. While common clothing encourages the growth of delusion, the garment of the Dharma, the Okesa, is by no means like that. Several years ago, I was asked to assist Genjo in sewing his Okesa. Along the way, Sangha came and sewed, supporting Genjo and for the joy of sewing and helping. We learned about each other, finding common ground and the joy of being together with this spiritual practice of sewing. We are connected through Genjo's Buddha robe, the Okesa, that Genjo now wears. We are Sangha. In my own life, at my teacher's request, death and dying became what I have primarily studied and taught. In learning about the bardos of death, birth, life, sickness, death, and becoming, it is in this teaching that I come to understand that when we are in the bardo of becoming, between death and birth, we are looking for new parents. It is not a given that our next manifestation will be in a human form. Our mind stream and karma in the bardo will determine the environment and body we will receive. We are searching for a way to ripen our karma so it may be healed. We are drawn to couples who will provide the environment for this to manifest. This certainly isn't to say that all our birth parents were perfect and completely nourished us along the way. It's less about the parents and more about our own karmic stream and what we come into this body to heal. We may have had an ideal life at this point. It may have been a life of great suffering. And here we are with the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha in this Zoom room together. Each of us here are closer to the awakening and knowing that Buddhahood is already with us. Buddhahood is already with us. We just have a little dust in our eyes. We have glimpses of it daily. These glimpses may be tiny and sometimes great. Rest in these moments of awareness. Most of you have likely sewn a rakusu or okesa, and when we hold up the garment, we don't see each tiny stitch that we made. If we look closely, we may see that there are sections sewn by our friends in Sangha. This is important when sewing, to ask others to make stitches in your rakusu or okesa, to literally stitch Sangha into this garment that you'll be wearing. I encourage you to treat this garment as a precious jewel. When you place it on your head to recite the Kesa verse, open your heart to what you are reciting. You have had countless lifetimes on this path to find the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and to wear this precious clothing of the Buddha. And here you are, yet again. A new level of reality of what sewing as a spiritual practice means awakened in me when Genjo was ordained. To see the manifestation of sewing as a spiritual practice with Genjo, Meredith, Drew, and Genjo's friends and family into this precious garment, the okesa, being blessed and handed over during his ordination is beyond words. To see Genjo kneel before Teijo on the zagu we made, to honor his mother and father, and turn to bow again to leave home. Tears spoke my heart's knowing. Helping to provide the garment for Genjo to enter the lineage of the Buddhas is beyond words. May all beings be blessed to receive a greater understanding of receiving and wearing the Buddha's robes. May we all realize Buddhahood. To me, this is what it means to offer and receive the gift of sewing as a spiritual practice. I offer the merit of this Dharma talk to all beings at all worlds so they may realize truth. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. And I'm open to comments and questions. When I am helping on sewing retreats, Tomoe-san's voice is in my head a lot, particularly with the phrase, "What were you thinking?" And because it shows up in your stitches, and she can tell when you were way off. Where were you? And so that just her voice and her memory just brings me great joy and pleasure. And it's interesting to watch people on sewing retreats and how devastating it can be sometimes to be still with yourself in this kind of environment where you're doing something completely foreign, and doing the completely foreign thing is one thing, but then a lot of times when you're sewing a rakusu, you may not have ever been on a retreat. And so for a good many people, it's just can be overwhelming, and they want to leave, or they'll leave the room crying, and it's just so tender to be with people during this time, because I sewed a rakusu after I had a decade or so of practice, and then allowing me to have beginner's mind again, to remember what it was like when I first started to uncover my conditioning and my false beliefs, and how painful that could be. to see what we carry around and believe. Um, and what a gift it is when we can be gentle and lay those aside so that we have beginner's mind again. Um, and we can turn to the pain in our hearts instead of getting busy and doing something else. Um, it's it's a gift, just like when Ginjo and I were sewing as Okesa, and there was this long piece of fabric, and we didn't know what it was, and I cut it off, and realized I shouldn't have cut that off. But to see the progression through practice of it was funny instead of devastating, because we knew it just made an extra little seam on the frame of the Okesa. He and I knew it was there, but nobody else could see it was there. So what a gift to have a community where you can rip open your heart in front of people and hold it and look at what the contents are and be gentle with yourself and show it to others and talk about it. And maybe you can leave some pieces out when you put it back together, pieces that we don't need anymore. So all this comes about through this practice. It's very tender and very precious.
Savana Amata, I have a more technical question
Okay.
about the care of the rakusu, washing. I just don't do it often because, well, I don't want to do it wrong. And is there a procedure for washing?
There's an old procedure where you're supposed to get ash from something, I can't remember, but don't do it that way. So just get some kind of very mild detergent in cool water and lay it in a tub, and just swish it around. Um, and then if you see that it is soiled, if the water is dark or looks soiled, then do it again. And then you'll do the last one with a cool cool water with no detergent in it. And then when you want to take a towel and lay it flat on a towel, put another towel on top and press it, or you might roll it up so you're not creasing it, and then unroll it and lay it flat somewhere to dry is the best way to do it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The wisdom we got from San Francisco on the Roxu about washing, don't send it to the dry cleaners because the writing will disappear.
Oh,
And the writing is a water-based ink, so that I use. So that's one reason you have to use a mild detergent, I think.
so maybe it'd be better to spot clean since you use water-based
If you
ink
can
on the
spot
back.
clean, it's okay, it's good. But I think the way you described it, it has to be done that way once in a while. But just the gentle detergent, I think, is a big part.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And also the spot cleaning is a good recommendation too.
I think we forget to do that. You know, we're doing oryoki, we're eating with it, wearing it, and we get food on it. And the best practice is before you put it away, is to look at it and clean it up like you have a little baby there, and just gently clean it and every time so that it's going back into the case clean. So you'd want to make sure it's dry before you put it back in the case.
Another consideration is when, the way we've done it at Great Tree is we get new fabric and cut it. But traditionally, you collect pieces as Savannah described, and then you dye them all the same color. And so one of the people that received the precepts here offered to make me a Roxu because he was really into the Roxu sewing. And he went through the whole process of the dyeing and everything. And when I very gently washed it, but it bled. So that's another reason to spot clean it.
What is the way to wash it with ashes? Just because I'm curious.
I don't remember. It's in the manual. I don't have one here. And
We have some here. She can look it up.
it's from a certain tree. I don't remember how to do it. I thought, there's no way I'm doing this. I didn't even pay attention to that part of it.
I wanted to appreciate the way you spoke in giving your talk. It felt like you were being very, very present to what you were saying, and it helped me to be that way too. It was very powerful. So thank you.
Savana, thank you for your sharing and yeah, you're just your guidance and presence now and before and in the future. When you were sharing, yeah, it brought me right back to sewing our Okesa together, really, our in the big sense. And remember initially being so daunted by the task and just with your guidance and with the support of community members and Sangha members who came, it really was a joyful practice for me. And we would typically I would come to Anattasati Magga on Sundays and we would sew together. And sometimes others would come, Meredith and Drew, and my friend Sparrow came one time. And other people put stitches in as well. But I came to really look forward to that time together. Not to say, yeah, that it was difficult, frustrating, and bloody at times. I poked myself. I'm just really appreciating, uh, yeah, your ability to bring that joy and, like Anne was saying, share it. It really it brings us right into like this maybe this Buddha field that you're cultivating and cultivated. One story I'll share, I don't think I've shared this with you. When I was in Japan in the monastery, um, three of us from the training monastery I was at um, got to go to a different prefecture, a different temple, several hours away. And it was about an 11-hour drive to support a mountain seat ceremony. And one of the monks from the training monastery, Toshoji, was serving as the shuso for that mountain seat, and the head practitioner, and then two of us, myself and another monk, went to support. And they had it all figured out. It was a huge event over several days. And we were given a very, very menial task. I was just given really one thing to do the whole weekend, and it was to strike the wooden Han to signal the start of the Dharma combat ceremony. So that was really my only job, and I would fill in other places as needed. But in terms of like on the schedule, that was my one thing. Um, and time came around, and it was time for me to do that, and I missed my cue for causes and conditions, a number
Uh-oh.
a number of reasons. And oh man, they were furious, pissed, it was just yeah, it was bad. And there was a schedule, schedules posted all throughout the temple saying like what was happening, who's doing what. And the one guy in charge, he went around to every schedule and crossed off my name, everywhere, and was just just really, really mad, and I don't know what he was thinking, but I'm sure there was a lot, just coming in and this story around not I don't know, whatever it was. But um, at the end, things kind of calmed down, and we were able to talk, and I was wearing my okesa, and what actually brought me back into harmony with the Sangha, kind of brought me back into good relationship with everyone was the kind of the monk in charge who was going around and had like literally written me off came around and saw my okesa and saw that I had that it was hand sewn and was really struck by that.
Oh,
Uh, because it's more common practice in Japan to maybe inherit an okesa or they're kind of mass produced, so you can just go out and buy one, but it's not very typical to sew your own so much these days. And I think that really kind of I maybe had some story about my practice and my seriousness, and how I wasn't maybe taking it seriously or something. But then he saw the stitches in my okesa and was really moved by that. And it may have been the first time. This was a an older guy. It may have been the first time he had seen. It seemed like seen really a hand sewn okesa
wow.
person, and he was really examining it and asking questions, and then we ended up being good friends at the end. But it was through our okesa that it brought this harmony back.
That's wonderful. He probably saw the stitch, the place where we had to mend it.
Maybe it was, yeah, it was.
That's a great story. Thank you. It took us months.
Mhm, mhm. Yes.
And it was strange when it was finished.
Hmm. It was.
I didn't really want it to be finished.
I think one of the things that I recognized early on was the first sewing for Jukai, and I was 1994, and it was down in Charlotte. Is people pretty much sewed together and helped each other, and we had kind of a short weekend retreat or something like that, and it was pretty disorganized, and um, but then they had to sew over time, and some people got certain parts of it and some people got different parts of it. But in the end, what I saw more than anything was that piece of the Sangha, how it creates a sense of Sangha. And I see that happening. It's very difficult to kind of orchestrate that kind of thing when you've got people coming from all different directions, from Charlotte, from Spartanburg, from Greenboro, from various directions. Um, to do the sewing. And in these sewing retreats, I've started extending them longer and longer because that way people can get further along and finish them by themselves more easily. But also, I feel that sense of Sangha happen during the retreat itself. That, there's a tremendous bonding that happens between people who sew together. People who sew together stay together.
I think so. And it's nice when people are passing around their pieces of their rock suit to get other participants to do stitches on it.
Yeah.
I've told this story before about my teachers. Okay, so I wanted to sew an okesa, and so Tomoe-san and Teja were trying to figure out how could I sew an okesa, and we decided that we could sew our teacher Sujata an okesa that she could be ordained by Tejo as a teacher. So that way I got to sew an okesa, and it was all about me. And so we have part of our sanghas in California, so we sent some of the panels to California for them to sew. And the panels came back, and Sujata saw the stitches, and she goes, "Oh, I want this panel to go in the back." because some of the stitches were big and wonky. Well, that's not how it works, Sujata. So it turns out that when she puts the okesa on, that panel's right here. There they are, her sangha. Okay, is that it? Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
Now we'll go back to merit.
Yeah, first I have some announcements
Oh, thank you.
for things that are coming up. So we have the full moon tomorrow, at 7. That'll probably just be on Zoom because the weather, but maybe it'll be better tomorrow. We'll see.
Well, we got 3 inches of snow on our driveway, so I don't think it's going to be better. And it's still snowing.
I think there's 4 inches here. I don't know when you're going to be able to get here, Tejo.
Well,
Wow. So, and then our next Dharma talk is February 7th, Nancy Spence, Sujata Yasa, Embracing Compassion and Emptiness, Living the Precepts.
and this is Savannah's teacher,
Yeah.
so she's going to be talking about the precepts.
And then we have a session February 13th to 15th, like Valentine's weekend.
It's actually celebrating Buddha's death and nirvana.
Yeah. And Genjo is leading that. And we also have the sewing retreat, which is led by Savana, which you guys know, in March.
And I should mention Genjo is going to be in charge for the next couple months. So don't call me. I'm going to be on personal retreat. But if you have if you need anything, contact and she'll let me know.
If you want to sew a second or third or fourth rakusu, you could always come to the retreat.
Yeah. It won't be online.
Okay, so we'll give back the merit now. May the merit of this practice
May the merit of this practice
benefit all beings
benefit all beings
and bring peace.
and bring peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Have a beautiful day. It's a winter wonderland.
Oh, yes, it's so beautiful here. I love it. Locked in like this.
Stay
Okay.
warm.
Yeah, stay warm.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.